welcome to Pedantic Handwavium, the podcast that tries to explain fictional worlds using science. I'm Simon.
And I'm Jeff.
So, Jeff.
Simon.
Who do you think is better looking? Me or Henry Cavill?
I think Dr. Cox.
Okay, well, who's better looking? Dr. Cox or Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, he's like just a huge piece of man meat. He looks fantastic. But I like how
great actor.
Yeah, and a great actor. I like how I wasn't even included in the running that I was specifically in. You could have just said Henry Cavill.
Could have, didn't.
This week we're talking about The Witcher because the new season that came out. Oh, actually, it just came out, right?
Did a new season just come out? No, they announced a new season.
Yeah, they announced a new season.
They found who they're casting as Vesemir.
Oh.
I think that's the most recent announcement.
I mean, I'm more interested in who they're going to cast as Roach, but...
any horse.
Not Roach the horse, Roach the man.
Yes, I know which Roach you're talking about.
It would be pretty funny if they just had a horse. They just never included the man. They were just like, it's just the horse. That's the only Roach.
Right. Well, you wouldn't want to confuse the audience with weird timeline cuts that have no explanation.
You mean do literally exactly what the books and the video game do?
Yep.
Anyway, I did say we are doing The Witcher. Me and Jeff have both played the video games. I don't know, have you read the books?
I haven't.
I have read the first one. I meant to read the next one, and then I was like, nah.
A student in school.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work. Actually, I read them back when I was in Ithaca, when I was in review.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was in school then, but I mean, it is what it is. They're good books. They do have those those same strange cuts. So
weird.
For anyone who doesn't know, The Witcher was originally it's a Polish fantasy series about a man who is genetically modified,
professional monster hunter.
Yeah, but so he becomes a professional monster hunter. A Witcher is a man who has been transformed to half monster and then is paid to kill monsters. And like the identifying thing about them is that they carry two swords on their back, one that's silver, one that's steel, and the steel's for killing people, and the silver's for killing monsters.
Right,
yeah. They also have kind of limited magical abilities, and in the universe, the most related to the Witcher people are the sorceresses, who have like full magical abilities. Like they do crazy stuff.
Yeah, like magic.
Like magic. Like that thing that doesn't exist, but does it. And it does. And that's the episode.
Find out how in this episode.
That's all we needed to do. So kind of the first thing that everyone's, they're clamoring for us to answer this. Is a Witcher possible?
Like in this today real life?
Yes.
With caveats, I'm sure we can make something happen.
Well, so here's the cool thing I think about the Witcher series as like a baseline is that the Witcher, they go out of their way to mention the Witcher is sterile.
Right, because of whatever process he goes through.
Yeah.
To become a Witcher.
Exactly. So it kind of makes sense that if he was like a severely genetically mutated creature, he would be sterile. Because he just doesn't have reproductive abilities. However, what I think we should try and answer is not so much if the Witcher's possible in our time, because everybody's done it. Everybody's like, oh, it's like GMOs and stuff like that. No, I think, GMOs, their eventual conclusion is that we will all be half monster people who have really good bodies and live forever.
And that's why people are so against them.
Yeah, because if all of us look like Henry Cavill, none of us look like Henry Cavill. No, I was gonna say if we can think of a way, to like create a Witcher, but with like medieval technology.
Okay. So mashing herbs and roots and honey together.
Yes. So I am wondering, okay, I have an idea about this. Yeast, beer yeast, all throughout Europe is like it was like genetically created by just, you know, kind of like selectively grabbing the yeast that would be left over after every batch, and you just kind of like strengthen your yeast that way, your genetics. So I'm wondering, what if some crazy man did the same thing with viruses, like was able to like breed viruses and get them to alter,
to like intentionally selectively breed them for whatever traits, for handsome traits and very strong traits.
Yes. I don't know.
Okay.
I think it is answered. So it doesn't physically change their appearances that much, apart from their eyes.
Yeah, I think apart from the eyes, that's it. No, not the hair. That's just
that has to do
with
the
one Witcher.
Yeah, that has to do with Geralt of Rivia's ancestry.
Right.
Because he's whatever. Yeah. So yeah, we're thinking like, but so the question is, do we think that there's like that a virus is the way to do this, and how do you create a GMO virus?
Well, and a virus might be a good route to go down, because isn't it in lore that only like a small fraction of people survive like the transformation?
Yeah. It's like an incredibly small number of people. It's like 1% or something like that. It's not that small, but so it's very small.
Right. So it could just be like immune response to the virus. Like if you're able to fight it off, it also fights off like...
Oh! So that's interesting.
Yeah, like fat tissues, which is why they're also handsome.
And gorgeous and muscular. But I really like that idea. The idea that and then in that case, it might not even be a virus, but it might just be something that it is like a bacteria or a parasite or something that just looks like all of the ails of humanity. So it looks like aging, it looks like cancer, and so when you get that immune response to it, you essentially become inoculated to it. Your body sees all these other horrible things as being this virus and can fight it off more effectively.
Right, yeah, that tracks with me at least.
That's a really interesting way to see it, is that they really have like the best. They just have immune systems that keep them alive. So then what enables them to... So another portion of...
to drink poison potions?
Yeah. So part of the game is that you manufacture potions that only you can drink. They give you special abilities like ability to see in the dark, ability to resist fire, able to hit things really good, things like that.
Able to heal faster.
Yeah.
And the flip side of the coin, the reason why only like you as a Witcher in the games can do that is because it's literal poison for people who are not Witchers.
Yeah, you make it out of like belladonna and things like that. And actually, it's even poisonous to Witchers if they take it in enough quantity. So it's like part of the game is to like navigate your intake,
balance poisoning yourself
with the powers you get from poisoning yourself.
Yeah,
because I mean, like that's. Do we think that maybe this is like a step process? There's like this initial part where they're like, okay, we're gonna inoculate versus all the human ills, and then the next part is we're going to like. So maybe it's something. More...
I think it was just like one like ceremony thing that basically just kind of covers it. So maybe part of the response is it like, kicks your like kidneys and liver into overdrive or something.
And kind of like puts your body into like a constant like survival mode. So the thing is that I guess that would work, and that's why you can't. That's why you can't take all of the poison, but you can take a lot of poison, because you essentially have like like your what's it called? Inflammatory response is like constantly suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would also mean that like you can't heal that well though. Like that's that kind of trade off.
That is true. Yeah.
So so here's the idea I had is that if it was like a series of layers, is that part of the ceremony would be to like give you a parasite that would consume the poison and excrete like the beneficial parts of it.
Okay. I can see that too. Like, I don't know
but
like the lore deep cuts, but like if it is like a long thing, then it could just be like a 3-part ceremony over like 2 days or something.
I remember being like a long, painful process. But
I feel like I remember that too.
But I mean, like, it still could. I mean, like, part of it definitely is the ability to, like, be in that kind of fight or flight, adrenaline state more frequently with less of an issue.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something that is added after that mutation.
Yeah. That comes about because of the mutation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even really a mutation if we're looking at it this way. It's more just like a...
Well, I mean, they're also, like, high fantasy medieval people. They don't know the science.
Oh, they just assume it's a mutation. Oh, so it's not like mutation, like actual mutation. It's mutation as in this thing is different from me. And was made different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But then... well, just whatever could be that makes it sterile. Makes them sterile, rather.
Yeah, because it might be that it starts to attack their genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know... Oh, and actually, you're not limited by gender. I believe women can also become witchers.
I don't remember.
There isn't one in the games, but I believe Ciri was originally supposed to become a witcher.
She may have been. I know she at least, like, was trained.
Yeah.
Like, got, like, the mundane sort of training like witchers do, but I don't know if they were planning the,
the mundane kind of training.
Yeah.
To kill people and monsters.
Well, I mean, as opposed to the magic training, turning you into a monster.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, so I don't know if the plan was to also, like, give her the mutagens, but... she was raised with witchers and trained as a witcher. I mean, my experience are like just the games, so you might have more knowledge than me.
I'm trying to think. I don't believe that they really mention it, at least in the first book. But I do believe they mention it in the games that women can be witchers, and it would be kind of par for the course because like part of the whole thing with a witcher is that it's like a disruption of like gender norms in the medieval era. I feel like I'm making witchers seem way more... When I say that, I feel like I'm being kind of, what's the word? Snobby? Snobby-ish? No, that's not the word. Like when you elevate something beyond really where it sits.
I don't know. I don't know what word we're going for.
I don't mean to say that like The Witcher is like this like huge progressive game. It is a game that has like...
I see
150 hours of sex scenes.
Probably.
But there are some nuances in it that are done fairly well. Not fantastic, but they are done well. Certainly better than George R.R. Martin.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. All female characters aren't these little like weak-willed, annoying people. That's gonna cause a huge...
No, like half of the characters, like female characters in The Witcher, kind of run half of the stuff or have machinations to be in charge of,
or
like,
are currently in
sorcerer societies.
Yeah, the sorceresses are actually the strongest like enclave in the Witcher games, and actually all of the like male counterparts are kind of weak and stupid. They're actually really annoying to deal with in the games.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next thing that this will kind of like blend into each other, I think, is so witchers can cast spells with their hands. So these aren't
right.
These are like considered to be kind of like small magics in the world, where it's like this is like the quick thing you can whip out in combat.
This is the pocket sand of magic.
That is such a good description for it for people who have ever played Dungeons and Dragons. This is the pocket sand of magic. This is the yeah, and it's like so the things you can do are like you can create a shield around yourself, you can create fire, you can push things, you can do something else.
I think it was a charm.
Yes. There's Igni, Axie, Quen, which is the force, and Earden, which is a trap. That's what it is. Yeah. So you can kind of do so. What do we think? What do we think the Witcher's doing in that case? Do we think it's kind of like Jedi mind tricks, that it's not actually occurring and that people just think it's occurring?
Well, I think if we look at magic as a whole, like how sorceresses do magic, we might be able to find how like the signs fit in that, versus trying to make the signs fit just out of nothing.
Huh.
So let's try sorceress magic and see if we can make signs work from there.
Sorceress magic. It doesn't really have a good definition to it.
No.
It's kind of like you can kind of just do whatever you want, actually.
At least from the show, there was an implication.
Okay, yeah.
/ I guess not implication. They did directly say that it's like balancing, like using the power of entropy or something.
It's that's possible, but there is that like that balance. Like when you do something, you have to give something up, or there's like a equal and opposite effect, because you have to become a sorceress. You have to give up your womb. You have to give up your ability to like create life, so that you can take hold of this other power.
Is that a thing, or is that just
a thing
that Yennefer does?
That is a thing in the show. In the books, I don't remember that. What I remember it being is that like using magic is like almost like radiation. Like it slowly poisons your body.
Okay.
And that makes you. But I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, and I haven't read the books, but I feel like I read some commentary on one of the sorceresses. Wow, that is a difficult word. I learned that today. Advocates sterilizing like all sorceresses.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if that's a natural like needs to be done.
Oh, did you vanish again? You may have vanished.
No, I just stopped talking.
Oh, okay. It was just such an abrupt.
Or it could be that it's like one of the people advocates it because like it's a slow degradation.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. It was more like it was like a slow poisoning. Like you were giving up parts of your life, parts of your well-being to use magic. Yeah, and they you know what, I think that you're right. I think it is just something that Yennefer does, or that sorceresses do. I think it's like to control their population or something like that, because they can use magic before the ceremony.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be like to control the population, or I do like the idea that you had touched on, where it slowly degrades the womb. It just might be more difficult for the person or the child to come to term.
Yeah.
So rather than having a very difficult or impossible childbirth, they just sterilize people.
That's true. Or to kind of avoid complications. Which is, I mean, that's a whole other, like, you get into kind of like the eugenics aspect of it there. But
yeah, which is why I try to go on to like it just like makes it so like
so
a child wouldn't survive it or something.
Yeah, so that
rather than the eugenics end of it.
Yeah, that there's enough damage that could be done to a child from magic that they just say it's not worth the risk. You have to choose one or the other. You can't choose both. So does that kind of help us in describing what magic might be? We see it as kind of like this. That makes me think it's kind of like high energy, kind of like radiation is.
Right.
They do specifically they draw their energy from the 4 elements, and this allows them to transport themselves long distances, heal, and kill in the blink of an eye. Do we think that it's like so we've done this before where it's like a rip into a different dimension, a different universe that has different laws or levels of power.
Right.
Do we think it's something like that, or do we think it's something that is more terrestrial?
I can see it that first way. Like, I'm resistant to go with that since we've already gone there.
But it's so easy.
Like, it does also fit.
Yeah. It does, and that also could be. I mean, so it fits in the lore of the game because the reason there are monsters in the world are because of this kind of like meeting of 2 realms.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So maybe what it is there's several realms that are kind of like parallel to each other, and that sorceresses can kind of straddle that barrier. I guess we should go into what is it about their particular physiology?
And actually, kind of with that in mind, I feel like a particular spoiler alert for people. So you've been warned. But, like, Ciri can just jump between these different worlds. And I think some of the elf sorcerers can do that also. So maybe it's just a thing that sorceresses can do that just a little bit and like siphon off a little bit of energy or force from those other spheres, I think, in lore.
Yeah, because also the wild hunt. That's how the wild hunt occurs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is jumping to a plane you
yeah,
should
they
be
just
on.
live on a different sphere and like plane shift into whichever one the Witcher world exists on.
So do we think that that was egotistical. Do we think that we live in the world of the Witcher? It's just that we live on a very mundane, boring sphere.
Well, I think with CD Projekt Red being in charge of the games, that it might kind of be canon that our world is the Cyberpunk 2077 world, which I'm sure will come about. And Ciri did probably likely go to that time and that world.
I am so excited about that.
Right? Like just the one-off, like, and then you see Ciri walking down a street and that's like the only cameo.
And you're like, this was totally worth it to buy a AAA game. Okay, so yeah, but what is it about their physiology that would enable them to be able to kind of
to do that?
Yeah, to pierce the veil, to part the curtain between worlds.
I think people are bad at bouncing between spheres or taking like power from them, because I think the magical, non-mundane sort of like elves and other creatures can do that better.
Huh.
So it could just be some fundamentally different physiology,
So you think that there's like the innate ability is to be able to go between worlds, and actually what it is that the issue is that humans are kind of tethered to their sphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like this is like almost like a quantum mechanics issue where
Yeah, right? That's kind of where it's fallen out.
yeah, where it's almost like a human beings are, I mean, again, I'm just thinking of like I'm just thinking of our old episodes. I was like, oh, human beings are made of this world, so they have to like kind of like a Space Jam argument.
Right.
But like I'm trying to think, what's it called? Entanglement.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's like a limiting factor in entanglement where human beings to a certain extent are entangled with their sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can't change because their sphere isn't changing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it,
yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So instead of entanglement being this changes so something else changes, it's entanglement is this can't change so that can't change.
Yeah, that tracks.
And so there's just kind of like once you get like a little bit of a mixture of something else that's not human in there, like elf or monster. That's when you get sorcerers, and even when it's fairly dilute, it's enough there that it'll allow them to
it's enough to
expand.
kind of part the veil a little bit.
Yeah. And that also kind of explains the magical powers that monsters get and things like that. Is because they naturally live in kind of all of those worlds at one time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that was surprisingly cogent.
Well, and then, yeah, that does open up the Witchers being able to use signs where I think other people can't, right?
Yeah.
So maybe part of the, like, mutagen ceremony
is that they
unentangles them.
Yeah, they entrain unentangled. I don't know.
Tomato.
Yeah. Non-entangled genetics or matter into the human being, into the Witcher, so that then they are able to do sort of a modicum of magic. Maybe not as much as the sorceress is. They kind of have it innately,
right.
but it's enough that allows them to do this kind of small, kind of in the moment,
like kind of small, like rote sort of types of magic.
So how do we think they are like obviously they're not like these potents of chaos, like they have some control over their magic. So how do we think that they control that? Do you think it's like a chemical release, or like because the Witcher they have hand signals that they use for each of the spells,
and if they can't make that hand sign, then they can't do the spell.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could. Do we think maybe? Continue.
I was gonna say, do we think that maybe they are kind of like these chaotic beings? Again, I'm like thinking of things in reverse, where like maybe monsters are like the reason monsters are the way monsters are is because they can't control this power. They're constantly like their mind is constantly being stretched across and trying to understand several different worlds and laws and kind of places.
I mean, I guess that could be for some of the monsters, where like drowners are just they will drown you and then eat you. So is it really because magical? Of what we assume? What
are they really magical?
Right. So like, well, we assume they're just like mindless, like animal monsters.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just that they're like seeing everything at the same time, and they've just gone mad.
Yes, this also explains a lot of the parts of it. So a lot of the Witcher game is based in a lot of like old folktale. So a lot of the monsters are things that were really supposed to have existed in medieval times. If you like, say, buried a bride on her wedding day, or buried an unborn child in a unsacramented.
Right.
Unsacramented? That's the word, right?
Unhallowed?
Unhallowed, thank you. Grave.
Yeah.
Things like that. So maybe part of it is that like the religious overtones and all of that in this are ways of like focusing some creatures' innate kind of ability to go between worlds. So, like,
right.
not every baby that's buried in an unhallowed grave will turn into a creepy little whatever those things are. I forget. It's like the weirdest thing. If anyone's ever played Witcher 3, the Baron storyline, when you do like the good part of it, not the evil part of it, the whatever
there's an evil part of it?
There's one where you can be like, nah, this baby's bad, and you create like a demon. But
oh yeah, where you play like weird bad Geralt, and I don't know anyone who is capable of doing that emotionally.
Being like, yes, I will totally slaughter entire villages.
Right.
It's true. And like, it's not fun to play bad Geralt because the game just is not fun to be like, I am completely sacrificing everything
all right,
I have.
It's a murder. It's a murder. I'm gonna monster it. Scratch it. Reverse it.
I mean, it works both ways. Either it's a monster.
It does. It really does, though.
It's a murder. I'm gonna monster it. So I was gonna say maybe like things like that only come about when human beings have a little bit of that power. Not enough to be sorceresses or witchers, but enough that if they are unchecked for long periods of time, and in very certain cases, they kind of,
right. And I liked where you're going with, if you like invoke these different practices, it lets like a magic thing happen, which is just focusing power from another sphere potentially.
Yeah.
Because then that does open up to, like, oh, if I just have, a lock of this person's hair and their dead dog, then I can curse them. Because, like, that just happens to be what you need to connect to whatever sphere.
I like that. I like that. So, like, all the spheres, it's like a constant pushing game. They're all pushing against each other. And it's when one of them kind of so I like this is like really like weirdly in depth with quantum mechanics. But if you have like two membranes that are like pushing against each other, and as they're like warping against each other, that releases an amount of energy and an amount of effect. It's used a lot in string theory as an explanation for the Big Bang, is two membranes that collide. So maybe that's kind of what's going on, is that these are like layers of different spheres, and each sphere kind of has its antithesis. And
all right.
And so when you want to like kill someone or do something, you're either you're diminishing something's antithesis or you're amplifying it itself. Make sense?
Right.
So you're kind of creating an imbalance that causes an effect.
Yes,
which is
that makes sense.
Kind of how all thermodynamics works. Because stuff isn't in not homeostasis, equilibrium, and you're just like forcing it into the equilibrium you want. Okay, I mean that sounds great, actually.
Yeah, no, I feel like we kind of actually did one.
Again, we keep on saying we've been doing a good job. I mean, so maybe not so much that Donald Trump is a future man. But, I mean, at least, like...
But I do think we pieced together his fear of light bulbs and
definitely.
the outside and spray tans.
Oh, yes. No, that was a stroke of genius on your part, is why he has spray tan.
It's bound to happen sooner or later.
Is there anything else that we kind of want to touch? Because we've hit quite a bit of stuff. Like, we've explained...
Yeah, we did. And, like, it did kind of tangentially pull in monsters stuff.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on there? I mean, you mentioned drowners, and that's one thing that I think is done really well in this, is they're like, what are monsters that are likely to exist, likely to thrive in a human world?
Right.
Drowners being one of them. Actually, I believe drowners come from dead bodies, don't they? Or maybe I'm wrong about that.
I don't remember.
They might be a creature in their own right. But we have like what are those things called that eat dead bodies?
There are lots of things that eat dead bodies.
But like the really basic enemy that's always there.
Necrophagia.
Necrophages, that's right. Yeah, which is like things that like, yeah. When you have a lot of death in the world, you're going to have creatures that eat dead things. You're going to have a lot of scavengers.
Right.
And they do that very well.
Which just makes sense. Yeah. That's
actual
nature.
Science. Like that's why.
Yeah.
This is why coyotes do so well.
Because they're necrophages.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Or they're scavengers, yeah. Scavengers are very good creatures to be if you don't want to die or starve.
And you want pretty easy meals.
Yeah. They're very low energy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of another thing, though. I really can't. Can you think of something we haven't explained?
Let's see. We got...
Oh, man.
Magic. Magic's probably the biggest part. Shoot. I don't know. Is there anything else weird?
We may have just done this one.
Right? Why does silver just across the board affect any kind of monster more?
That is a good thing to bring up.
Right?
Huh. Okay, I do have an idea for this.
Okay.
Silver is naturally antiseptic.
Mm-hmm.
And actually more so than a lot of other metals, it was originally used, and it actually still is currently used as an antibiotic.
Yep.
If you'll get like silver nitrate impregnated bandages and things like that for like burn cases, things that were like you needed to be very, very clean.
Yeah.
So maybe it goes back to this is why the Witchers need to do this kind of ceremony where they take in some amount of bacteria and and parasites, because the kind of entanglement doesn't come from the creature itself, but instead comes from their bacteria and their immune.
Okay.
Profile.
I see.
Yeah. So when you're using silver, the reason it does better damage to monsters is because of that antiseptic property. It's killing off their physical connection to the other spheres.
Okay. I like that. That works. That fits in like the rest of our handwavium from before.
Yeah. Jeff, you got to come up with a reason why it's bad so that we can fill up the rest of the
All right,
6 minutes.
hold on. Let me retcon this so we can fill in the next 6 minutes. Then why can you not use any other sort of like
like antibiotics,
antiseptic, or antibiotic anything?
Or
can you just like not pin them down to like make them take penicillin?
That's another good point. I think it's more that you're not getting anything that's as concentrated, because if you think about it, there are substances in the Witcher world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of, I think it's Dimeterium is what it's called.
Okay.
Is it the
Oh, I vaguely recall.
Like the
something.
The bombs you can make, like the flashbangs.
Yes.
The magical bombs. So maybe that's like that's what that is. Is that they haven't been able to get any other antibiotic in enough of a concentration, except that silver being readily easily to smelt and amalgamate. Amalgams doesn't have to be a mercury, right? It's just any mixture.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Silver is relatively easy to make as a alloy, to make it stronger and useful as a sword or something like that. Maybe the other antibiotics that naturally occur in the world, maybe they throw maybe they cause explosions and stuff. And it could also be that a lot of the antibiotics actually do hurt the Witcher, like when he takes things like belladonna, when he takes things like honey and things like that, that have antiseptic or antibiotic properties. That might be one of the reasons why it poisons them, is because it's not physically poisoning them, but it's killing off their connection to that sphere, to those spheres.
Okay, yeah, and then and especially with the combination of that and like
an actual poison,
physically cutting them in half.
Yes. Yeah, you do need an antibiotic that is like a sword. Sorry.
Well, yeah, so it like weakens their
I'm thinking it's like the
essence, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, their connections to the spheres.
Yeah, and that in conjunction with cutting them in half with a sword.
Yes. Which tends to
kills them very good. Yeah.
So one thing we haven't discussed is kind of how armor in this world and clothing in this world, and with this is really a game thing. It's not so much a book or a TV show thing.
Mm-hmm.
But how those could have such drastically different effects, even though they're pretty much the same armor. Like,
because you look good, you feel good.
Is that what it is? It's all just psychological? You're like,
Just look at like how sleek this armor is. I gotta move faster in it.
I mean, to be honest, Witcher is one of the games where I have never felt conflicted between the fact that I was like, this is really good armor and this is really cool armor. Like, as someone who is currently playing Breath of the Wild, I'm like, I really want to look cool, but also, I mean, like, if I need...
See, I play Monster Hunter and always make mixed armor sets, so my character always, 100% of the time, looks like a hot mess, but they can do some cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember when I played Diablo 2 as a necromancer, and I like just refused to change my armor because I was like, no. I am silver and I have a skull for a head. I don't care about the powers. I just want to look cool. Okay. I kind of like the fact that it's like it's all about like actualization. Like this whole world is like really like complicated physically. But, dude, there's still one thing that's true, and it's you dress for the job you want. That's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's about actualization. It's about getting up in the morning. It's about looking in the mirror and being like, you know what? I'm
going to cut that monster in half today.
Yeah. I am fireproof. And you know what? Maybe you are. Remember.
Right? You might actually be fireproof.
You might be fireproof. There's no way to tell. Well,
absolutely no way to tell. Please do not test it.
Yes. Yes, please. We do not want to have lawsuits. We already have had to blank out the name of certain prominent media figures because of their litigiousness. So we don't want to have people being like, oh, well, actually, maybe we do. Maybe this would increase our viewership.
Yeah, get us on the news.
Yeah, we'll get a bunch of like angsty teens who are like, oh, this is what bad kids listen to, and it's us. Is
a clean, non-explicit podcast.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think the worst word we've ever said is sex, and that's not a bad word.
No, it's not.
I don't
know if we've had any other words get past us.
We've had one. I swore one time in I think the second episode, and I didn't catch it.
We were still early on.
Yeah,
we were green.
Yeah, that's back when I would record and I would be very drunk.
Now you're only mildly drunk.
Nah, I got
enough to loosen you up, Yeah,
it's like a pleasant buzz, is what it is. So here's so we just think the fact that The Witcher drinks so much. So do we think The Witcher has like a good metabolism for alcohol? Because in the games, a lot of what you make is like 95% alcohol.
Yeah, like the potions are based on like you need pure alcohol to make this work.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's because it's a solvent.
Right, that was my assumption.
But do we think...
And they're all just mildly alcoholic.
Okay.
And like high-functioning alcoholics.
Okay, so we do think that the Witcher's like a little bit buzzed all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. So he has like the ability to consume like digitalis and not have any issue. But he's just like, I'm drinking pure ethanol. Like I am...
Right.
This is grain alcohol. I am drinking it. It's gonna be. It's gonna give me superpowers.
It's going to be a thing.
Yes.
I'm going to have to deal with this for the rest of the day.
You know, we haven't actually seen any other Witchers create potions, so it might just be that Geralt is making these potions.
Right.
People are like, Geralt, why do you need all this alcohol? He's like, because I'm making
It's
potions.
for my potions. It's just for my potions. I can quit any time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to take potions. I just like the way the potions taste, okay?
Right.
It tastes good. I like the burn. Good times. Good times. All right.
We solved Geralt.
We solved Geralt. The alcoholic transplanar creature who looks like Henry Cavill. Actually, it's, you know what? It's a little crazy. So if anyone's ever played the games, it is insane how Polish Geralt of Rivia looks like. Like, not the muscly bodily part, but particularly in, like, Witcher 3, when you can grow a beard, he looks like you just took every, like, the face of every Polish person and just, like, smooshed it together. Like, honestly, he looks...
Just is the perfect Polish face.
This is a weird thing to say. My dad, who is, like, 100% Polish, kind of looks like a less attractive... He doesn't look like Henry Cavill, but he does look like a less attractive, sorry, Dad, version of Geralt of Rivia from the video games. Like, when I was playing it, I kept on being like, Dad?
Well, to be fair, a less attractive Geralt of Rivia from the video games is still a very attractive man.
That's true. That's true. And yeah, Geralt of Rivia can get it. And
he does, apparently.
Yeah, I have no qualms about saying that in this clean, non-explicit podcast, because that's how true it is. It's a scientific fact. It's like using the correct medical terms for genitalia. Geralt of Rivia can get it.
Right.
Yes. And Henry Cavill can also get it. Both of them. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We've been Pedantic Handwavium, and I'm Jeff.
And, we haven't. We had to do our whole thing. I know. We wanted to extend this 6 minutes, and it's now been 10. What are we... we're on Twitter. We're on iTunes. You should like and subscribe to us on iTunes and leave a comment, which we haven't said in a while, but you should definitely leave a comment about how Geralt of Rivia can get it. The comments don't have to be about the podcast. They can be about whatever you want.
Tweet at us with hashtag Geralt can get it.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. Rivia babes and just a picture of Geralt and Henry Cavill. Where a lot of our episodes are up on YouTube. If you want to watch them there, if you don't like using podcasting apps for some reason, or I guess if you want to like do a really roundabout way of downloading us, you could do a YouTube to an MP3, and then there.
Or you can just listen on Spotify.
Or you can just listen to us on Spotify, which is probably a lot easier. Thanks to Joe Sopchak for doing our theme music.
Show suggestions at pedantichandwavium.com.
That's right. Show suggestions. There was one thing I wanted to mention, because so far it hasn't like been nailed down, but me and Jeff have talked about it, is possibly doing an episode that's just an RPG of us trying to escape the General Mills laboratory where they keep Tony the Tiger. That's something we have in the works for our 50, maybe not even 50. We'll be like 36 people who download this episode. This is for you guys.
And everyone else who downloads that later episode.
And everyone else who downloads that.
But you get the teaser.
Yeah. But again, this is like referencing one of our first episodes that we really enjoyed doing, which was
Breakfast Cereal Mascots.
Yeah, it was.
And that was a great episode.
It was a phenomenal. If you want to see the genius of Simon when he's 3 sheets to the wind, and Jeff when he's 3 sheets to the wind, you should listen to that episode.
My 3 sheets to the wind was cryptids.
Yeah, actually that was pretty good. Cryptids is also a very good episode. I think the one that I got locked out of my apartment for was just a 6-pack of beer beforehand. Was that was Full Metal Alchemist, and so Full Metal Alchemist, normally I get progressively drunk throughout the episode. Full Metal Alchemist, I start
from 10.
That was a rough That was actually a rough episode to record. I think I fell asleep after it. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Simon.
And I'm Jeff.
Goodbye. Good luck. We love you.
We love you.